and welcome to this scenic drive through the historic Gudbrand Valley, or called Gudbrandsdalen in Norwegian. We are starting at the top of the valley in Vågå and heading south to Ringebu. Part of the drive takes place on the E6, which is the main highway between Oslo and Trondheim. In my previous video, we took the Voldresflia scenic road, which led us to Vågå. You can find the drive via the link in the description. There is also a written overview of this drive in the description. Throughout this drive, I will be chatting to you about what we pass, as well as some information about the valley in general. There will also be text on the screen, like you see here, providing additional information. Visit Norway describes Gudbrandsdalen as the king of valleys due to how much there is to do here. There are tons of historic sites as the valley is historically important. There are ancient farms as the valley is one of the most famous food producers of Norway. And there are many outdoor activities as Gudbrandsdalen is close to some of the most beautiful scenery in Norway. Gudbrandsdalen begins at Lillehammer, home to the 1994 Winter Olympics and an American mobster in hiding, and it ends at Vågå, where you have easy road connections to Stryn, Sogne, and the Voldresflia scenic roads, plus the western fjords. Please note that all of these scenic roads are only open in the summer, they close in winter. We are now arriving in Larm. Larm is a small town with a population of 329. Many folktales come from here, as the Norwegian folktale writer Peder Christian Asbjørnsen had a major source here. But Larm's big history surrounds industry, and it's believed the town was established as an industrial site as far back as the Viking Age. Millstones were produced here. Until 1640, the mines were owned by the Crown. After that, anyone was free to produce millstones as long as the landowner got a fair share. The population increased until the business ended in the 1870s when another village with a railway connection took over. The site of the production is a protected cultural site called Kvenberget. You will see signs pointing to it in town, just to the left. The name Gudbrandsdalen means the Valley of Gudbrand. Dala means valley. Gudbrand is an Old Norse male name that is comprised of God and sword. It may come from a chief. There are several documented Gudbrands in the valley. Historians believe there was a regional centre at Hundorp during the Viking era, and the name Gudbrand was used for many generations by the ruling family. Burial mounds at Hundorp suggest that powerful men are buried there. We will talk more about Hundorp later in this drive. Gudbrandsdalen was shaped by the recent Ice Age and rivers from present glacial areas in Jotunheimen and Dovre. Bones and teeth from mammoths and musk oxen have been found in the valley. Several traces of hunters from the Stone Age are also found here and the surrounding mountain areas. There is a rock carving of elks in the northern part of Lillehammer. Before 1349, settlement expanded and new farms were established. During the High Middle Ages, about 40 churches existed, most built in wood. Garmo Stave Church and Ringebu Stave Church are examples of ancient wooden churches. Forvong Stave Church and Varga Church include parts from the older churches. The Black Plague reduced the population by 50 to 70% between 1349 and 1350. Many districts were left deserted for centuries. A large number of clergy perished during the plague and churches fell into disrepair. During the 1600s, the population once again reached the same level. We have now arrived in Otta. Otta is one of the largest towns you'll pass through on this drive. Located at the meeting point between two rivers and two valleys, Otta is also historically important. Otta is famous for its whitewater rafting potential, and it's also known as the gateway to the Rondane National Park. The town became known in 1896 after the construction of the railway line that runs between Oslo and Trondheim. It was the terminus until the connection to Trondheim was finished in 1922. Despite its recent recognition, people have lived around Otta for thousands of years. In 1612, Otta was the location of the Battle of Kringen. Basically, the battle involved an ambush by Norwegian peasant militia of Scottish mercenary soldiers who were on their way to enlist in the Swedish army for the Kalmar War. The battle is known in Norway. The coat of arms for the municipality depicts the Prilla Guri, sorry if I say that horribly wrong, the local girl who went up a hill and distracted the Scots by blowing her horn. A statue of her can be found in the town centre. This is what she looks like. Between the 17th and 19th centuries, the area around Otta was an industrial site with copper and ironworks, plus various mines. Today's Seld Church is located on the site. This is the main church used by Otta. Otta is one of the few places in Norway without a central church. During World War II, there was fighting between German and British forces here. The British had to retreat due to fierce artillery fire from the Germans. The last British forces fought off Germans while retreating north towards Dombås. Today, Otta is popular with those looking for outdoor activities. Otta is the administrative centre and is a large industrial town with a window framing plant, production of slate, wood mill and a large printing plant. There are heaps of things to do here: cafes, restaurants, shops and hotels. welcome to Skjåk. Skjåk is a small town located along the river of the same name. The town is very well known for its water sports, including rafting and kayaking. The river is also rich in trout and grayling, making it one of several popular fishing rivers in Norway. After the Reformation, all church property, which was mostly the farms, became property of the Crown. Between 1670 and 1725, most of the property was sold off to pay for war debts, first to established property owners, but increasingly to peasant farmers. A freeholders' era began and a new upper class of landowners was formed. From around 1865, the population declined due to emigration to North America. Until 1946, the majority of inhabitants worked in farming. There was severe fighting in the valley at Tretton and Kvam, as well as in Dommos during World War II. The Battle of Dommos was an attempt to stop the German advance. British troops engaged German troops in land battles for the very first time in World War II. Welcome to Kvam, the next stop on our drive through Gudbrandsdalen. Kvam is really well known from the battles that took place here during World War II, as this was the site where the very first German and British fighting took place. During the battle, the original Sør-Fron Church, which was built in 1776, was destroyed, along with 70 homes. There is a whole Wikipedia page about the battles, which I have linked to below. By Kvam Church is the Peace Park, which is a memorial to the locals killed during World War II. There are also memorials on the mountains where Russian soldiers were shot by Germans, as well as where Norwegian soldiers lost their lives in a battle against German troops. Kvam has a British military cemetery, and there's also a museum about World War II called the Gudbrandsdalen War Memorial Collection. Remember the battle at Otta in 1612? Well, after that battle, the Scottish prisoners were taken here to Kvam. They were held in a barn before they were massacred the following day. The barn stood as a memorial site, but sadly it was destroyed during World War II. The population of Kvam is currently 762. Most of the major industries have closed down in the last few years. In this drive, you'll see we attempt to get to the War Museum. Sadly, when we got there, it was closed. Also, the museum is kind of tricky to find. The railway, the river, and the highway blocked us the first few times. Here is our attempt to get to the War Museum in Kvam. Agriculture has rich traditions in Gudbrandsdalen, and agriculture is still a significant industry. The rich mountain pastures and fertile soil in the valley sides have created a high level of livestock. As in other inland valleys, farms were set some distance from the valley floor. This was to avoid flooding. Due to the risk, the valley was less suitable for cultivation. From the middle of the 19th century onwards, large drainage and fortification work has been carried out in many places. This has acquired new arable land and valley bottoms. Industry is largely based on raw materials, and the largest industry here is the food industry, followed by lumber and wood products. Ringebu is the largest industrial municipality. Tourism is also on the rise, mostly due to the highway, so many towns are rebranding to appeal to these tourists. Many come to hike the Pilgrims Road, which is a walking path from Oslo to Trondheim, where pilgrims took in the old times. A link to that can be found below. We are now in Vinstra, a small town with a population of 2,553. It is located on the E6 as well as the Dovre line, the train from Oslo to Trondheim. Vinstra is known for its connection to Peer Gynt. A local man was supposedly a model to Henrik Ibsen's play Peer Gynt. Every year since 1967, the Peer Gynt festival has been held here. The farm consists of 15 old buildings, and the festival is a recreation of the play. You can get to the Peer Gynt Road through Gola, which leads you towards Lillehammer. Please note it's only open in summer. We're currently making our way to Sør-Fron Church. Sør-Fron Church was built in 1752 and has seating for 300. It was originally located in the village of Sør-Fron, but was moved to this location in 1910. Did you know that brown cheese was invented in Gudbrandsdalen? The creation of the modern, firm, fatty brunost is commonly attributed to the milkmaid Anna Hov from Gudbrandsdalen. In the second half of the 1800s, the valley was suffering economically. While working at a mountain farm, she came up with the idea of adding cream to whey when boiling, and then to boil it down in an iron pot. This created a firmer, fattier, more cheese-like product. When she married and moved to a different farm, she started larger-scale production and invented a variety where she added goat's milk. A local trader liked it so much he decided to take it to Oslo. He started exporting it to his business contacts under the name Gudbrandsdals Ost, and it became so successful that it contributed to the economy of the region. Hov received the King's Medal of Merit for her contributions to Norwegian food and the economy. This is what the packet looks like if you want to look for it in the shops. We have now made it to Ringebu, which is the southernmost small community of Gudbrandsdalen. It's about 60 kilometres, roughly 40 miles north of Lillehammer. Ringebu is an agricultural settlement with the main emphasis on animal husbandry. Forestry is also an important part in the economy. Ringebu is of course most famous for its Stave church, which is one of the 28 remaining in the country. It is actually one of the largest Stave churches as well. It is located a little past the town on top of a slope overlooking the valley. You will see signs pointing to it from the town centre. If you continue straight, we're just turning off to go to our Airbnb, but if you continue straight, you will reach Ringebu Stave Church in about 30 seconds. It's really, really close. So most of the current appearance of the Stave Church is from 1630. The site was used in pre-Christian times, and it's believed that another church stood on the site before the Stave Church. The Stave church was built in the 13th century. It was rebuilt in 1630 with a new tower, choir, cross arms and sacristy. The staves and some of the portals are still original. A major restoration in 1920 made efforts to bring the church back to its closer form. In the 1980s, they uncovered over 1,000 coins underneath the church. Today, you can visit the church through the summer months, and guided tours in English, Norwegian and German are available. It's also worth visiting Press Garden, which is the old vicarage from 1740. Inside you can find a museum with items displayed from the church. I hope you've enjoyed this drive. The next video will go through the Rondane National Park, so be sure to check that one out. Thanks for watching.